This is the MMA Brief Podcast, recapping the world of mixed martial arts every single week, with your host, Brandon Johansson.
Welcome back to the MMA Brief, recapping UFC on Fox 24 and previewing UFC Fight Night 108 from Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to start at the bottom of the main card, recapping UFC on Fox 24, where the undefeated Renato Moicano defeated the number 5 ranked featherweight contender Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens. By split decision, it was a back and forth fight. Tough fight for Jeremy Stevens to swallow. It seemed that Renato Moicano did not want to engage with the slugger. He stayed on the outside and was able to secure the victory by split decision. Number 6 ranked middleweight Robert Whittaker TKO'd Jacare Souza in the second round. Hurt Jacare, the number 3 ranked middleweight who's been clamoring for a title shot. In the first round, Jacare stepped into a right hand, got dropped. Robert Whittaker followed him to the ground, but wisely chose to disengage and invited Jacare to stand up with him. In the second round, Robert Whittaker stunned Jacare with a right high kick, ended up taking him to the ground, mauling him until referee Mario Yamasaki called the end to it. He was a bloody mess, and Jacare had just signed an 8-fight deal with the UFC on Friday, the night before his fight. Huge win for Robert Whittaker, and there's been talks of him potentially fighting Luke Rockhold, the former middleweight champion. That would be a huge fight. Rose Namajunas defeated Michelle Waterson by second round rear naked choke. Very interesting fight. Michelle Waterson was able to judo throw Rose Namajunas in the first round, but Rose had a very good defense. She had seemed to been prepared for that position, and it ultimately took Michelle Waterson's back. Second round, Rose Namajunas cracked Michelle Waterson with a head kick. The reverberations on her chin are stunning. Followed her to the ground and pound vicious. Michelle actually got back to her feet, and Rose knocked the braids out of her hair. She had these tight braids, very tight braids, and all of a sudden her hair just went poof. Rose actually got on her back, didn't really have the hooks in. Usually they say position before submission. Rose didn't seem to have the best position, but pulled off the choke because she's so crafty on the ground. Made it look very easy. Got the choke. Michelle was forced to tap. Now Rose Namajunas puts herself right there, like I said last week, in the position to be fighting for the title. And in the main event, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson fought a near flawless performance against the number 3 ranked Wilson Hayes. Hayes got an early takedown, but didn't seem to get anything else going, where Mighty Mouse was able to land with everything he threw and ultimately was able to submit the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with an armbar. Very impressive performance. There's talks, obviously, before the fight that he's the pound-for-pound best fighter. Now that he has tied Anderson Silva's title defense record for the UFC at 10, he's gaining traction. People are talking about him as the GOAT, which would be the greatest of all time. I can't disagree. He's a flawless fighter. I enjoy watching him every time. He's not a huge pay-per-view draw. He's a 125-pound guy. People rather watch 250-pound guys with half the amount of skill for some reason. Demetrius Johnson is the real deal. He's able to do everything. And if he wins one more time, he's going to have the most defenses in UFC history. Cement his legacy as one of the greatest fighters of all time. Very great performance from the champion. And now we're going to transition over to previewing UFC Fight Night 108 from Nashville, Tennessee. In the main event, Cub Swanson versus Artem Lobov. That's going to be a spectacular main event. I can't wait to watch it live, cage side. In the co-main event, Ragin El Iaquinta makes his return against Diego Sanchez, formerly Diego the Nightmare Sanchez, and then also formerly Diego the Dream Sanchez. He is now Diego the Lionheart Sanchez. Very interesting matchup. I cannot wait to see that fight. Ragin' El Iaquinta against Diego Sanchez in the co-main event. Also, Ovince St. Peru versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima, a pivotal matchup in the bantamweight division. John Dodson versus Eddie Wineland, a matchup of two former title contenders. And to start the main card on Fox Sports 1, Jake Ellenberger versus Platinum Mike Perry. Should be a very violent contest in the welterweight division. I can't wait to see it. So come back next week. We're going to recap UFC Fight Night 108. Peace.